said, I've got reading glasses on and the monitor's blown up and I still can't hardly see the screen. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have, I'm gonna have to go
Record.
get some glasses.
Now it's started.
Mm. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Let me double check, see if we've got everybody I'm expecting today. I think Stacy said she'd be late. She'll find us though. Okay, we got Ricky. Who we got? We've got Peggy, Pam, John. Is it John or Jean?
John,
Okay. And then
you
Ricky.
hear me?
Yeah. And then
Okay,
we
yeah, John.
okay. And then I've got hopefully, yeah, you guys can see my charts. Okay. Okay. Well, welcome to Astrology Academy. I'm sitting here trying to run out these charts that I wanted to look at today, and I'm finding them fascinating. Um, since we're getting back into sports, I thought one of the easiest things to do actually is boxing matches because there's only, two people in the ring to figure out what's what, right? So I wanted, of course, I didn't look at it ahead of time, but I heard what was going on with the boxing match, how it was, ended quickly. And then, of course, I wondered if he really did injure his knee or did he throw the fight, right? So I ran the chart for the fight. Let me see. The fight was July 11th at 8:30 p.m. here in Vegas. Okay. So that's the chart. Now, this was interesting to me because when you're doing the theory on sports astrology is that the favorite or the home team or the champion is the left side of the chart. So this is their ascendant, their chart for whoever that is. Okay. The dark horse, the away team, or the non-champion, the challenger, this is their ascendant. So when you're looking at them, you basically would flip the chart over like that. So that becomes the challenger or the dark horse. Okay. Now they said the fight lasted like a minute, less than a minute before McGregor broke his knee. And I was just laughing when I saw this. Look at this. We got Mars and Uranus right smack on the fourth house angle. And I've talked before in other classes about how important angles are. Okay. Now, the first house is, of course, Aquarius ruled by Uranus. So what we have is Mars conjunct Uranus right smack on the fourth house angle at the time of this fight. Now, they said that actually it was not a championship fight, that there was no belt. So of course you go, well, if there's no belt, there's no champion, then we have to go to the next default, which is who's the favorite. Which I found interesting because they said McGregor was the favorite, but that more people were betting on Holloway. So evidently the bets were, I don't know if it was betting on him to lose or win. They just said the money was on Holloway, but essentially, I would say that the crowd favorite would have been McGregor, and I'm going to say that that's backed up by the fact that the ruler of the ascendant, which is Uranus, is of course conjunct Mars right on the angle, and he got hurt. The last time I saw something like this, there was a Super Bowl that I did back in the 90s, and I said something to the effect of there was going to be an injury, a really severe injury at this particular moment in the football game. And that's exactly when the guy got hurt, and they literally carried him off on a stretcher. So the next day, everybody was going, how did you predict that injury? Well, I remember it was Mars on the angle. So that's why it's dangerous. When that hits, somebody's going to get hurt. When a Mars Uranus, especially on the fourth house angle, is hitting like that, someone's going to get hurt. So I wish I kicked myself. I wished I looked at this before the fight, and I would have been able to make a prediction like that. But we've also got. I thought it was interesting. Is on top of this Mars Uranus, it goes up here to Venus angular, is also squaring. And yeah, that kind of square to Venus, he would definitely, McGregor would definitely be the favorite. They talk a lot about when people are kissed by Venus, and then also Jupiter here at 2 degrees in the sixth house. Um, that just tells me the sixth house is um, when you're doing medical astrology, the sixth house is paramedics and nurses, the lower medical staff like EMTs, the nurses, that kind of thing. The seventh house is doctors, and the eighth house is surgeons. So the fact that this Mars Uranus is to Jupiter in the sixth house, I would, again, I wish I'd looked at this earlier. I would have just said, he was going to need medical attention shortly after this fight started, looking at how close this is to the angle, and especially in the sixth house. That would tell me right there. And I'm sure that they gave him some kind of pain medication because we got Neptune the second. Now, I'm going to also take that to mean just I've done enough charts to know that when I'm looking at Neptune in the second house of money, that tells me that there was some funny stuff going on with the betting. I don't know what effect that was. That's why I always had problems with placing bets on some of these games, is because whenever I see Neptune in the second like that, I'm going, okay, there's a fix in somewhere. Somebody's doing something. So I don't know how that would affect the odds, you know. But I would definitely look at this and say that McGregor would lose and he'd be hurt looking at that. Oh, now if we flip it over, that's why I said flip it over for Holloway, it becomes different. In the sense that this Mars Uranus goes from the fourth house angle to his 10th. So of course, everybody I'm sure was angry at how quick this all started, It also then, instead of the sixth house for McGregor seeking medical attention, this would have gone to Jupiter in the 12th house in Holloway's chart, telling me that just as a sideline, if I was writing up an article or column, I'd say that there was some inside money on Holloway winning that fight because you got Jupiter in the 12th house aspecting this Mars Uranus in the 10th. That would tell me Uranus, by the way, is, and this is another reason why I don't bet sports during Mercury retrograde. Whenever you see Uranus, it's generally the long shot wins, the one that nobody expects is an upset. Uranus is always the upset, and it's because people are pissed. With Uranus, it is extreme irritation. So that's another reason why the long shot wins, the dark horse wins, the least favorite wins, and everybody's pissed, because they put money on it the other way. Um, but it's an upset. And the thing about Mercury retrogrades on sports games or elections, because we had this when Trump had that second election, it was during a Mercury retrograde. The same thing. Whenever there's some kind of sporting match or an election during a Mercury retrograde, it's always going to be something just doesn't it's not going the way that you would think it would go. And there's going to be accusations that something was funny in the paperwork with the Mercury retrograde. But that's again just I don't do any bets during Mercury retrograde. I've too many times I see that things just go a weird direction on Mercury retrograde, and I just leave them alone on any bets there. All right, before I move on to the next subject on the McGregor fight, did you guys have any questions? Can you see the chart okay that I'm looking at? Ricky, can you see it okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Stacy's
I
here
can see it.
now.
Oh, hey, Stacy. I was just going over
Hello.
the McGregor fight and how I wished I'd run the chart before the fight. I would have had a great article because to me, I'm looking at this. It was really obvious that it would have been over quickly. He would have been hurt. The crowd would be upset. I mean, it's really in this is the chart that we're looking at for that fight. And Mars Uranus right on the fourth house angle, that fight's going to be over quick because Mars also ends things, and Uranus, of course, is the upset. And right on that fourth house angle, that thing's going to end quick, you know? And then I'm trying to think, the moon here in the fourth also tells me it's going to be over quickly. Now, because of the Mercury retrograde, I'll bet there's going to be a rematch. That's another thing. That's why I knew that Trump would run again when he lost the election under that Mercury retrograde. It just means they're going to say something was wrong with the vote and they want to redo it again. So there's a rematch or he ran again, you know? Okay. But I wanted to show you how some of these things, the predictions are just freaking easy. Now, I also wanted to take a look. This is McGregor's personal chart. Yeah, this is McGregor's personal chart. And I wanted to see, my God, he's got Sun, Moon, and Mercury. Oh, wow, that's funny. That new moon that we're going to have on Tuesday is right around 21 degrees of Cancer. That new moon is going to hit him right on his Sun, Moon, and Mercury. So that sounds like about the time he's going to go see the doctor about the injury. So, and it's funny to me because the new moon where it's at on Tuesday is a very extreme moon about new beginnings. So this is just going to be a really life-changing event for him. That injury obviously is. Oh, and I'm not surprised he has Mars and Aries. Boy, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but when I was studying domestic violence, men that are very abusive to their women, I found a high number of these men had Mars in Aries. And except the only time that I didn't see an exception, but then sometimes I saw it crossing over, would be if they were athletes. And looking at this Mars in Aries at 0 degrees with McGregor, I would take the allegations against him of the sexual assault quite seriously because oh, Stacy would remember too. I did a prom back in Nebraska, and I remember like 9 out of 10 of these boys had Mars and Aries, and I was talking to their girlfriends. Their girlfriends were just basket cases. I mean, there just is a real high amount of abuse. But again, the exception I've seen is if they can get their aggression out with sports, but sometimes it's both. But whenever I see a child or a young man with that, I'm going to say, get him in sports, get him in martial arts, because that's going to be a person that's going to need his aggression worked out. And certainly McGregor fits the type. Oh, look at that Jupiter at 20 on Taurus. Okay, yeah, that explains a lot. Um, Saturn, boy, he's a Saturn Uranus, which means he's bipolar. Okay,
Oh, how does
yeah.
Jupiter and 20 degrees explain a lot? Because I got it 23rd degree.
Oh, anytime I see a Saturn Uranus, I know that this is a person that has a chemical imbalance. Doesn't matter because
Okay.
Saturn represents the body, and of course, Uranus is, the fluctuations that you can't control. Now,
Yes.
to the degree and the severity of it would depend. This is a conjunction, so it's not like debilitating, but I
Okay.
would say he has some kind of chemical imbalance whenever I see a Saturn Uranus. But,
That makes
you know,
sense. Okay.
yeah, a conjunction's not going to be so bad, but a square and an opposition, yeah, that could be bad. And then, of course, depending on the sign. Now, his is in Sagittarius, so I would tend to think that means that the sports are an outlet for him, or he would be crazy. With just anytime I see a Saturn Uranus, I look a little closer. And I do look at things like lifestyle. I mean, I would say if this guy was not a fighter, he would be out of his mind, because of seeing his chart, the way it is. And
Makes
also,
sense.
yeah, his Jupiter at 28 Taurus, right 1 degree off that 29. Yeah, I mean, that's again, he even has Lilith at 6 degrees of Virgo, which is very close to the Widowmaker. It's also the sign of Attics.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it's actually for Virgo, so he's only 2 degrees off of that. Yeah.
and 28 degrees is where the person's head can come off, right? Not him, but
Well,
He
yeah,
said,
and interesting, he takes a lot of, punches to the head with this chart,
yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, it's a good thing in sports or he'd be a lot crazier than he is. Oh,
That makes sense. Thank you.
yeah, but if I looked at this before the fight, I would say he's going to have a dramatic life change after this fight. And the injury, it might put him in retirement, looking at that new moon where it's at. And the reason I bring that up is because
Wait,
I was reading about this new moon that we're having
okay, I have a
Tuesday.
question.
Yeah,
But because Mercury and all the other planets are in retrograde, wouldn't there be a second fight though?
I f- I absolutely do think, I mean, automatically the rule of thumb would be, yeah, we're going to have a rematch. Um, but what I'm wondering is what this new moon, right on his sun, moon, Mercury, what does that mean? I mean, that's going to make me back up for a minute and wonder how bad is this injury? Is it going to, I don't know. I mean, this is one where I'd want to look closer at it. Now what I would do is if they are going to talk about it, as a general rule, yeah, they're going to talk rematch. Whether they have the rematch, that might be a different matter. And so what I would do then is just look to see when are they scheduling this rematch and see if it's going to go off or not, you know? And then let's see about Holloway's chart. Okay, this is Holloway's chart. And what are we looking at? Okay, his ascendant. Oh, wow. His ascendant is 28 Scorpio. His sun is 12 Sag. Aha, Moon Scorpio at 28. Interesting. He's got Moon right on his ascendant. That's interesting for a fighter because that's such an emotional placement generally. I've got Moon on my ascendant. That's funny. Okay, so we've got his Mars is in Sagittarius at 4. So he's a Sun Mars. Okay. Sun Mars generally is very aggressive, a very assertive, aggressive, not like in an abusive way, but just very aggressive. I mean, think about it. Sun is like a male identity to Mars conjunction. Yeah, this is a very assertive male with an emotional moon. Interesting contrast. Okay. His Venus is in Libra. Boy, yeah, 28 Libra, which means I bet he drinks. you know, Saturn Aquarius. Ah, okay. His Saturn, Holloway Saturn's at 3 Aquarius. And the Mars Uranus that we had yesterday was close to that 3 degrees. So, I mean, this is what gave him the power, to be the winner. That would have been, I would have definitely looked at that. With that much Mars Uranus on his Saturn, yeah, I would say that he definitely would have luck on his side like that. Interesting. He's got Capricorn. Well, he's got, okay, this is interesting too to me because his Neptune is at 15 Capricorn and his Uranus is at 12 Capricorn. I mean, it's a wide orb, but that new moon is going to oppose this in his chart. So he's got some serious changes coming to his life too, but I'm going to say that's another fight because with the Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus affected like this, something is coming up
What
where he's going to take a beating. So there's going
what
to be
house
another
is it?
fight.
What house is that in? His
Oh,
Capricorn.
that's a good question. I didn't look at the house. Let me see.
Oh, no worry.
Capricorn? No, it's a good question. Let's see.
Should be fourth, right? No, let me see Libra.
Oh, his money. Got it. He made a lot of money off this fight.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because yeah, it's his second house. So that new moon, okay, that's another reason why lunations are important, like new moons, full moons. That new moon that we got coming up on Tuesday is in his second house. So, considering the fight was on the weekend, I bet the check's going to hit his office on Tuesday. And
Makes
oppositions,
sense.
funny thing, oppositions aren't always bad because when you're talking about an extreme check like he's going to be getting in the millions, you need an opposition because you need the power of the opposition. So it's not always bad. Sometimes it just means big. So
He
he's
probably
definitely, yeah, he's got a check coming on
he
Tuesday
probably
with
bet
that.
on himself too.
You know what? Because his second house is so emphasized now over McGregor's, and there was that Neptune in the second house of the fight. Yeah, there was something going on there where he's definitely made some money on some side bet, you know, which I would never say on the air. I'm going to edit that out. You know,
Also,
but I mean, just internally, if we need to know, this is what I'm saying. I'm not going to publish everything that I see on sports bets because sometimes we see things
of
we don't want to
course,
say in public, right? You know, but I was intrigued because, like I said, when I was betting before, I kept getting screwed on the point spread. But now there's this Kalshi website that I've been checking out where you can bet supposedly not only on who win or lose, but they'll let you bet on, God, I kicked myself. If I looked at this, I would have said somebody was going to be injured very quickly when this fight started. And Kalshi would have let me make a bet like that. So I'm going to look into that site more now that, it's got a different thing. Okay, before I change the subject, did you guys want to ask me anything about sports or betting right now for a lesson? I mean, we're going to do more. I'm going to do this every week. We're going to look at some games, we're going to look at some horse races, so I can show you different kinds of things like a baseball game or a horse race, and you can see like how you can tell who you think's going to win, you know?
You should have done it because it looks like just like the Nebraska game you predicted back in Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I wish
You
I'd done this fight
you had
sooner.
every single quarter like pinpointed right down to the rough the every player
Wow,
getting
really?
hurt and everything.
Oh,
My
wow.
dad was shocked. My dad that was what made my dad start believing.
Well, see, it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know there was a fight. And then I heard all the ruckus about his injury. I was like, what? And that's what got my attention. Because I'm going, I bet that chart would be interesting. Yeah, I should. That's why now we're going to do this every week. That's what I'm going to do during the week. And I'm going to make a point on Wednesday to start collecting my charts for the upcoming weekend. That way, yeah, I'm going to start because my chart is showing the potential. So there's a couple of you all's charts too. I'm making a lot of money this year. And so, I mean, I'm going to look at doing it for betting. I'm in Vegas. Well, hello, So I can make legal bets and why not? I mean, I know my skill. And so I want to teach you guys how to do this and yeah, let's make some money. So every week now I'm going to be looking at something, a fight, a baseball game, football game, something, and we'll see if we can bet on it or not. We'll pick out the best ones. Like if I'm not absolutely sure on something, I'm not going to bet on it. But I'm not going to bet until this Mercury retrograde is over. But we're going to learn and we're going to practice while Mercury retrograde's going. Which is another thing. You know what? This is another thing about Mercury retrograde in general, by the way. When you're making a prediction, I should throw this out there. Is I've done it enough times to know that Mercury retrograde does this weird thing where you think you've got to lock in something and you don't. It flips it all around. I call Mercury retrograde the trickster. We saw it with the Trump election. Everybody was saying Trump won. Boom, he didn't. Everybody was saying McGregor was the favorite. Boom, this freak accident. That's Mercury retrograde. It just, you think something's a lock and it's not. So that's why I just, when it comes to predictions of any kind under Mercury retrograde, I just don't do it because I don't know. I just don't know how it's going to turn out, you know? And I tried for years. I was like trying, and I can't do it. Even if I went the opposite of what I think it was, I'd still be wrong. So I just leave it alone now. That's why I didn't look at the fight, honestly. I wasn't really thinking about it, but I want us to start learning and practicing. Well, we got Mercury retrograde. Now, the next big thing I get asked about a lot is marriage. Okay. So I wanted to show you guys because actually it's funny. One of the things that really got me into astrology was my first teacher could predict marriage, children, pregnancies, like to the day almost. I mean, it was what I was like, that's what I want to know because there's no card reader, there's no palm reader I've ever seen that can say, this month, this year, you're going to meet your future spouse or you're going to be married or you're going to be pregnant. That kind of accuracy is why I was like, I want to know how to do this. So,
Totally
and
understand.
huh?
No, I said I understand. It makes sense.
Yeah, which is why I figured a good case study would be Elizabeth Taylor because I'm doing class, hun, but it's all right. If you need me to turn off the air conditioner, let me know. I usually turn it off because it makes noise when my daughter just turned it on. Okay. All right. I got Elizabeth Taylor's birthday, and I wanted to show you because I know when I've talked before about how you flip houses for different marriages, it sounds really confusing. So I was like, okay, Elizabeth Taylor's been married 8 times. So this will give us a good walkthrough. All right. She was born February 27th, 1932 at 3:57 p.m. in London, England. Now, because she's famous, I don't use Placidus on her. I use Coke on her. And she's very famous, so she qualifies as a Coke. Somebody who's extremely famous, or the head of a company, or the leader of a country, somebody who's very intertwined in culture or destiny, they aren't really their own person at that point. So they fall under the different house system of Coke. And it's a little subtle difference, but sometimes it makes a big difference. And
Can you
then
give me that date again one more time? I'm sorry.
yeah, it's fine. Elizabeth Taylor was born February 27th, 1932 at 3:57 p.m. in London, England.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, her first marriage now was on May 6th, 1950. Okay. Now, on the tri-wheels that I use, the natal chart is the outside, the progress chart is the middle, and the transits are the inner wheel. Now, of course, this is her first marriage. So we always look to the fifth house, yes, on marriage. But then as we go into subsequent marriages, it changes. But for the first marriage, it's easy. It's the fifth house. So let's see what we got going on here. Okay, she's got a Sagittarius fifth house.
The first, okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry, what?
It's the fifth house?
Yeah, she's got a Sagittarius fifth house. And
Okay.
the day of her wedding, interesting enough, the moon was in her fifth house.
With
And
the Sagittarius, oh, sorry for that. Sagittarius fifth house, that means her marriages were expanded, like she had more than one, like
more than
multiple.
one, absolutely.
Okay.
But I would also look to see if Jupiter is aspecting Venus, but I haven't looked that far yet. All right, but what I do see is on the day of her actual wedding, transit moon was at 17 degrees and it sextiled her progressed Mars at 16 degrees. So she was having transit moon lighting up progressed Mars in her seventh house. So, of course, with her first marriage, it's going to be the seventh. Now, the fifth is engagement. So, what you're going to see with the first marriage is there is going to be fifth house activity because of the engagement. And then, of course, the seventh house for the marriage. Sometimes if there's a baby involved, you'll see it in the fifth house. And I'll show you my chart later so you can see what that looks like. Because for years before it happened, I'm going, oh great, I'm going to get knocked up out of wedlock and then marry the husband. And that's exactly what I did because it showed the engagement but marrying the father in my chart. It's funny, we got married like I think 2 weeks before she came out of me. All right, let's see what else we got going on. The engagement. Uranus is also engagement. And we've got her progressed. Uranus is at 18. She's got Chiron in the 10th house, so of course the publicity. Okay. So, I mean, certainly a lot of, and oh wow, look at that. Her progressed Venus was right smack on her midhaven, which is another thing. When there's a marriage, you're going to have the angles involved, either the first and the seventh, or the 10th and the fourth, or both. But sure enough, with Venus on her midhaven, I mean, progressed Venus on her midhaven, that alone, just seeing her progressed Venus on her midhaven, I would say that's either a baby or a marriage. I mean, one or the other, or both. And then, of course, oh, wow, that's wild because the transit moon was actually opposing Pluto in her 11th house. That would tell me there's going to be more than one because the 11th house is the house of multiples. Okay. And the opposition, by the way, would also tell me it's not going to last. The progressed Mars in the seventh would tell me it's not going to last. Whenever you have natal Mars in the seventh, you know that they're going to be divorced. And she's got progressed Mars in the seventh, so it just means it's not going to last. Okay. The opposition to Pluto is not going to last. Oh, she was madly in love. Okay. And I'll tell you what, she has the Neptune here at 6, trining her Venus to the 10th. So, of course, all the publicity, the photography, first house for appearance, the Neptune photography, but also the Venus Neptune would tell me she was madly in love. And I'm wondering how long did that marriage last? Let's see. Just out of curiosity, let's see how long it lasted. But these things alone, I would go, okay, that's her first marriage. Elizabeth Taylor. Beth Taylor. How long did first marriage last? First marriage last.
I have 1 year.
And you know what? That's what I was gonna. Now this is gonna be advanced. What I'm gonna tell you, but just store it away. The reason why I knew my first marriage was only gonna last a few months, and then my second was gonna last 8 years. There's a formula that you take the ruler or the moon of the marriage, okay, and then the first malefic aspect, the difference in degree, tells you how long the marriage will last. That's an advanced formula. Don't worry about it right now. Now, reason why, my first marriage, my Venus was conjunct Uranus, only off a few degrees. Venus rules my seventh house. My first malefic aspect was Venus conjunct Uranus within those few degrees. Marriage only lasted a couple of months. Okay. Now hers, let's see. She's got the ruler of her. Okay, her
Wait,
seventh house is Aquarius. What now?
no, I had a. You said Venus conjunct Uranus or Jupiter? I didn't hear you.
Well, in my
For you,
chart,
yeah, for
yeah,
you.
my chart, I have a Taurus seventh house.
Okay,
So the first malefic aspect to my Venus is Venus Uranus conjunction.
okay,
And the difference in degrees was only a couple of degrees, and degrees represent months.
okay.
So
All right.
that just told me going into it wasn't going to last more than a few months. I got married in February and I left him and filed for divorce in May. So
Okay.
it did not last. But
All
let's
right.
see what's going on with her. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is, right, just looking at this moon opposition to Pluto, that opposition's a pretty malefic aspect. So I would right there say it's not going to last long, you know? Now let me see what's going on with her Saturn and Uranus. Okay. Her natal Venus is at 17. Oh, that's another thing. When you're looking at a marriage, it's not just the seventh house because you have the marriage certificate. So if it's really a marriage, because think about it, the seventh house is partnerships or competitive. I mean, there's so many other things the seventh house could be that how do you know it's an actual marriage? And that's because there's a marriage certificate, which is the ninth house. So there it is. We've got Venus at 17 degrees to her progressed Mars to that transit moon. So that's her fifth, the engagement, the marriage, and the marriage certificate right there. So that would, you would be able to safely say, yes, you're going to have a legal marriage at this point. And then we've got Chiron, which is another malefic right there. You know? All right, where is Saturn and Uranus? 12. Where's Uranus? 2. Okay. And where's her Uranus? Oh, there we go. Bingo. She's a Venus conjunct Uranus. Lasted a couple of months, like mine. That's what clicked with me. Okay, so if you were reading the chart of this person, the first malefic aspect is Venus conjunct Uranus, as Uranus is her seventh house ruler. So you would be able to say your first marriage would happen now, and you can see the marriage certificate. And I'm gonna kind of put out there, I think she may have been pregnant, because her chart looks an awful lot like mine. And I've seen a lot of out-of-wed pregnancies before where they have shotgun weddings. And, because of the fifth, the seventh, the ninth, and then the Venus Uranus in a couple of months is the first malefic aspect, indicating it may have been a scare, that she wasn't. And then there wasn't a need. But this opposition also would definitely seal it to me because it also would square this, the square to the Venus Uranus. That's another malefic. So all these malefics with the progressed Mars in the seventh, you would say tragically, this person's, it's not going to last long. Now the question then becomes, is she going to marry again? Well, okay. The first marriage is the seventh house, right? You skip, it's called a derivative house system. So if you're looking to see if she's going to get married a second time, you go to the ninth house.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So second marriage, ninth. Well, Uranus is the ruler of her seventh in the ninth. So she's going to marry again because it's also conjunct Uranus. So her Venus Uranus in the ninth, you can safely say to this person, you've got a second marriage, you know?
Or just can you talk it in the vent?
Huh? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. What?
Sorry, it was the wife talking.
Oh, okay.
Let me put you on mute. I don't know. I told her.
Okay. Now, if I'm just gonna, I want to walk through this. I've never actually, when I was a teenager, I remember I went through Elizabeth Taylor's chart, so it's been a while. Let me see. Now, so we know she's going to have a second marriage. Now, to skip over to the third marriage, we're going to look at the 11th house. And we're going to wonder, is she going to marry a third time? Well, she's got Gemini on the 11th house. Gemini is multiples. So I'm going to say yes. What was her marriage to Burton? I'm wondering. Hold on a minute. Let's see what her second marriage was. Because I know she did one marriage over again. Let me see. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth.
Stella.
I'm about to say Elizabeth Taylor, second marriage year. Give me the wrong name. Taylor. Taylor. Okay. Okay. Her second marriage was to Michael Wilding. So that was her ninth house. And then let me see her third marriage, who that was to. Mike Todd. Okay. So Mike Todd was her third marriage. And then just, I want to see where the rule. Oh, oh, that's interesting to me. Mike Todd, her third husband, is the one that died in the plane crash. And she's got Pluto in the third, which is not good. You know, again, if you're looking at this like a total stranger or you were, doing her forecast, you would be able to go, something bad's going to happen to that third marriage. Just looking at Pluto in the 11th house right there. I want to see if I can share. Can I share? Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. And then, yeah, we've got Pluto in the 11th house. Now, where is Mercury? In the 7th. Okay. The ruler of her 11th house is in the 7th house. So I would, right there, she's got a third marriage. All right. Now let's look over to skip a house over. That would be her first house. So is she going to marry again? We've got the sun at, sun at the 7th house. Yes, she's going to marry again. So we already can tell she's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, with the ruler of the first and the 7th, as far as, that marriage goes, yes, she's going to have another marriage. And I'm pretty sure, let me see, that was a 1 to burn. Let me see, 4th. Maybe not. Let's see. No, that was Eddie Fisher. Okay. Eddie Fisher is her first house at 21 Leo with the sun in her 7th. Now, again, we can get into calculations how long they'll last, but that's something that takes a lot more work on to get good at that. So don't worry about that right now. Right now, I just want to show how you work through the houses to see how many times somebody's going to be married. Your own chart, if you're wondering how many times you're going to marry, and then we go back over to the third house would be the next marriage, Venus. She's got Venus, Uranus in the 9th, which we know again, that's the ruler of her 7th, conjunct Venus in the 9th. She's going to have, let's see, third, fourth, fifth marriage. So she's going to have a fifth marriage with that. Okay. And then we go back to the 6th, 7th, 8th. Okay, now, so that would be, yeah. And then we've got the Pluto. Now, the reason why we can cut it off at the 8th marriage for her would be her fourth husband. Is it? Yeah. No, her third husband. Her third husband died in the plane crash. That's the horrible, tragic event with the Pluto in her 11th house. Okay. But if I'm going back around this chart and seeing 8 marriages, and then I'm seeing Pluto on the second go around, I'm going to say that's it. That's, she's not going to get past 8. And another thing you can do to see if somebody's going to be married when they die, okay, is because and the reason why you would do that is I really wasn't sure if I had a third marriage in my chart. I mean, I'm like 65 now. Am I really going to get married again? I don't, I was seeing all this stuff, saying marriage, marriage, marriage. And I'm going, nah, no, I don't, yeah. So what I did was, because I am divorced now, so I looked to my 4th house to see if I was going to be married when I die. All right. Now that would cinch it for me if I'm going to get married a third time or not, because I'd have to. I'm not married now. All right. So what you do is you take the 4th house there with her. And her 4th house is Scorpio. Okay. Now she's got Mars in the 7th, which, by the way, anytime there's Mars in the 7th house natally, 9 out of 10 times I have only rarely seen it different. But just so it's an automatic rule, Mars in the seventh is like a 99% chance they're going to be divorced on the first marriage. So we see her divorce on the first marriage. Now, with her, we've got the ruler of her fourth in the 11th. That just
Well,
tells me she's had multiple marriages, you
well,
know?
I was going to ask you. Sorry for interrupting. The Mars.
It's okay.
You said natal. If Mars is in the seventh, natal, or is that transit?
No, natal, because
Okay.
I've got Mars. Yeah, my natal Mars is at 29 Taurus in the seventh house.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was tough on me as a kid because I'm looking at that going, oh, great, my first marriage isn't going to last but a few months, you know? But I
Yeah.
read so many people with Mars in the seventh that were divorced. I mean, in all the charts that I've done, I've only met one couple that they were married like 40, 50 years, something like that, with Mars in the
Okay.
seventh, you know?
It's a fast planet, so I totally understand. It's just a fast planet. It's not,
Well, when
we're
you
here.
get into more of the old astrology, which is
Yeah.
why I like the ancient books always said that the Mars in the seventh is divorce or death,
Yes.
because it's the malefic right there in the seventh. And of course, Mars is strife or divorce. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it just, and it also, of course, means that the person doesn't play well with others because it's in the seventh house of relationships.
Yeah.
I don't play
Yeah.
well with others, and I've got, and look at this. Elizabeth Taylor's got, Mars in the
Yeah.
seventh. So now, but
So,
if I look at her fourth house, we've got two co-rulers. We've got the Mars and the Pluto. Now, I would say because of Pluto being the co-ruler, my phone went off. Because of that, I'd say no, she's not going to be married when she dies. Let me just double check. I don't think she was married when she
what do you
died.
mean when she dies? When she's dead, she's gonna get married?
Well, if I want to confirm that I think it's only 8 marriages, I would
Okay.
then look to see if she's going to die a married woman or a divorced woman.
Mm,
So you look
mm.
to the fourth house ruler, and that tells you, was she married? Was she married? I'll just double check. I don't think she was, but I'll double check. Was she married? Okay. And Elizabeth Taylor was not married at the time of her death. So looking at Scorpio as her fourth house, ruled by Pluto, I'm going to say no, she's not going to be married at the time. And especially with Mars in the seventh as her fourth house ruler, she's not going to be married when she dies. You
Hmm.
know, my fourth house ruler is Saturn, and my Saturn is actually opposing Mercury in my ninth, which is ruler of my ninth. So to
Hmm.
me, that tells me, I'll run my chart out and show you, but that tells me that I'm going to die married.
Oh wow.
Hmm. And it'll be an older marriage because of the Saturn.
Yeah.
But this is how you could look at that chart as an astrologer and you can see her 8 marriages and also that the other 7 weren't going to last and that she's going to die not married. Now,
Wow.
how do you what you guys can do, I don't know if you want to do it. I mean, we can run all of her marriages up to show you what happens is that, yes, I showed you the first marriage, her planets all lined up. I think she had a pregnancy scare and that's why she got married and it didn't last too long, you know?
Hmm.
But, and of course you would never say that in public to somebody, but, um, to your client privately, yeah, because I mean, at least in my own chart, like I said, I knew it was coming. Um, the other thing is, but if you're looking at your chart, and
Yeah.
you're wondering yourself about your first marriage, or second marriage, you know, this is how you go through and see for yourself what's going on. Let me see. I wanted to pull up mine and I'll show you an example of what I mean too, because I know mine better. Let me see. Timing. I got married on February 9th. I tried to get married, I remember, on Valentine's Day, but we wound up doing it on the 19th uh, because we couldn't get a minister of the church on Valentine's Day. Of course, everybody was booked, right? Uh, okay,
Hmm.
1991. There we go. All right, I'll show you guys my chart. I like to do because you've got to look at the transit progressed in natal in
Hmm.
order to see that where things are lining up for the marriage. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. There we go. That should print out in a second. But yeah, as we get, once you guys get the handle down of when somebody gets married, um, and kind of being able to predict it, you start out with a year, you get like the general year, and then you can hone it down to the month, um, by doing lunar returns. But once you get that really down where you're good at the marriage and the number of marriages, then I'll show you how to tell how long it'll last. But the formula is generally the first malefic, the difference in degree tells you the length of marriage. But that like I said, that took me a long time to get that one down. Okay, here's my chart on, oh, that printed the wrong year. I said I am blind as a bat. I printed 1001. All right, let me try this again. I wanted to show you. Oh, because also, if an astrologer tells you something like that, I also want you to be able to say, where are you seeing that? And if they can't show you what they're looking at, then they're just pulling stuff out of their ears. I mean, I want to show you how, like when I say something like, I think you're going to get married this year, what I'm looking at. But these are formulas that honestly I only found in very old astrology books. The new
That's
ones, ugh,
Jody. Jody,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. I
it's
got
okay.
married. I was looking at my chart when you mentioned this. So I got
Uh-huh.
married on May 20th of year
Okay.
2000. And I'm
Okay.
looking at the chart, and you said the fifth house. So I have
Yeah.
Uranus on the fifth house on my natal chart, and then the progressive and the transit, 11,
Mm-hmm.
11 degrees.
Yeah.
I got actually Pluto on
Oh,
that
that's
fifth house.
interesting.
I got Pluto, I got the moon, and I got Chiron.
Huh. Interesting.
All on the fifth, like, yeah, all in the fifth house.
Yeah. That's the engagement period. And it shows, I mean, and the reason why sometimes it matters to your client or you is sometimes people, there's no engagement period. It's just all of a sudden they run off to get married. So you look at the fifth house to see the state of engagement. And also if there is a pregnancy with that first marriage,
Mhm.
you'll see it connected. And here, I'll show you what I mean by that. Because on mine it was easier to see. Yeah, here we go. All right, here's my chart. Now, granted, I've got Mars in the seventh, 29 degrees. I knew that wasn't going to last. All right. And Taurus is my seventh house. And I've got the Venus and Uranus in the ninth. Now, that also told me he was going to be a foreigner. And he was a Puerto Rican from New York. And I was a Valley girl, in California. So he was a foreigner. In fact, I met him in New Jersey. So that's another thing. As we get more advanced in marriage, you can tell more about the person that they marry. That the Mars in Taurus told me that he had black hair. The fact the Venus in Uranus in the ninth told me he was going to be a foreigner. Um, but like I said, the older ancient astrology books will tell you flat out things that are going to happen. The new ones, they waffle. They go tendencies, energies, harmony. I mean, they hedge all around making an actual prediction. But the old ones will tell you flat out, this person's going to die. This person is a criminal. I mean, they make, and that was another thing because I was wondering what this meant. Mars at 29 Taurus was squaring my Pluto in the 10th, which typically, according to ancient astrologers, I would marry a criminal. And I was going, God, I wonder what that means. He was a reformed criminal. He had actually served 2 years in prison for armed bank robbery. And he was a gangbanger when he was a kid. And he had 8 years in recovery when we met. And he actually was working as a youth counselor to straighten out street kids. So I really admired him for that, you know? So when I see the criminal thing, I can add that they could be reformed, which same thing for like an alcoholic or an addict. They could also be, they have it, but they're in recovery, you know? And then, okay, now we can see transit Venus was at 26 degrees to this Mars in the seventh, almost identical to what I just showed you with Elizabeth Taylor with the first marriage, but also I was pregnant, you know? So here's, I've got transit Venus in my fifth house. Woohoo. And it is going over here to my natal moon in the first house. And I was as big as a house, which okay, when you're looking at a pregnancy and you want to see if that pregnancy is going to go to term and not be a miscarriage or a stillbirth, um, the ancients would bring up the sixth house because of the health condition of the mother and the first house by the weight. So transit Venus over here, I think it's trining moon in my first house. I was as big as a house. I mean, I gained over 100 pounds in my pregnancy. And that's why my first house was lit up by this Venus. And then if I look closer, Mars rules my sixth house, and I've got the sextile to Mars in my seventh, showing that my health was affected because Mars 29 also would tell me that I would have health complications in the pregnancy because of the square to Pluto, and I did. They hospitalized me twice during the pregnancy. But I would have a girl because, again, I go up to this Venus Uranus. Now, because there's a gender, now what I mean by gender is Venus or Mars. If it's got to be one or the other, Venus or Mars. Okay. And that tells me I was going to have a girl. All right. But Venus Uranus is also considered by ancients to be a born out of wedlock pregnancy. So, of course, I got pregnant out of wedlock because of the Venus Uranus in my chart. And then, but I married the father because of this connection here in the seventh. Okay, if that makes any sense. And the reason by that, I'll show you what I mean by that. I have a Pisces fifth house, which also, by the way, would tell you that this person would probably lose their first pregnancy. And my first pregnancy, I was like 17 and I did miscarry. So, but that again was, I have a Pisces fifth house, which is Jupiter and Neptune, both indicating a miscarriage. And Neptune, I've got Neptune squaring my Pluto. So that tells me I would miscarry the first pregnancy. The Mars at 29 degrees in the seventh, I would lose the second pregnancy, which I did. I lost that pregnancy when I was about 5 months along. But my third pregnancy, the ninth house with this Venus Uranus, tells me I'm going to have a girl. And it also tells me I'd marry the father because Venus rules my seventh house conjunct that Uranus. Again, that connection between the seventh and the fifth tells me that even though I was pregnant out of wedlock, I would marry the father. But then also because Jupiter rules my fifth house, and I've got Jupiter at 24, all tied into this transit Venus, natal Mars, natal Venus Uranus, you know, it's all in there together. That Jupiter really gave me the protection that I needed. And I had a really good doctor during that pregnancy. I gained 100 pounds. That moon in the first house put all that weight on me with this pregnancy. So, you know, my blood pressure was shooting up. They hospitalized me twice, which, by the way, Venus also rules my 12th house of hospitals. So that would also let me know I would have the baby in the hospital, but I also was hospitalized twice during that pregnancy because they kept thinking, you know, they were going to lose me. And I almost did. I also, another interesting thing when you look at my daughter's chart to me, I also wondered what that Venus Uranus meant really for the pregnancy. And they actually vacuumed her out, which I thought was, when you look at her chart, she actually has Uranus on her ascendant, representing that they vacuumed her out. But yeah, it was touch and go. All right. Now, so we can see that I've got the first marriage, and then of course Mercury is at 21 to my Venus Uranus right there. And then, of course, back to the Mars. So I have a second marriage. All right. But I'm also showing you how everything lines up for the year that I on the first marriage. I don't need to get into the second one right now, but there is the promise of the second one. And then, but this is the one that threw me, is my 11th house of my third marriage, right? Is Mercury. And Mercury is, of course, opposing the Saturn. You know, I'm sitting there going, that would normally mean to me that I probably would not marry. However, I've got Saturn and Uranus both co-rulers of my fourth house. And then I've got other stuff going on right now, but looking at my fourth house, because of the Venus Uranus, ruler of my seventh, conjunct the ruler of my fourth in the ninth. So again, you're seeing the connection between the seventh and the ninth. I will have a legal married status when I die. So that also means I'll go before him, which is nice, you know? And that's another thing when you're looking at your spouses to see which one of you goes first. That's good to see whether which one's the widow and which one's married, you know? Um, but yeah, so I mean, what you were saying, if you can see in the progressions and why you have to take the natal and the progressions and the transits, and that tells you that it's marriage season for somebody, you know? Now, if you get again more advanced, I'll show you how to tell when you will meet this person, because believe it or not, the time that you meet these people that you're destined to marry, that also shows up in the chart as well. And then just something to look forward to. I got these books by Ivy Jacobson Goldstein, and she was like, you can actually see the birth date of the spouse in the other's chart. Now, why is that useful? Is that both of my marriages, I had a lot of other offers to marry. And I'm looking at other proposals. I think I got proposed to, I swear to God, 11 times on my second marriage. How do I know which one of these 11 proposals I'm going to take? Right?
Watch out.
I mean, how do I know? Well, this formula of looking at the birth date of the spouse in my chart, for example, so that's when I started running them. And of course, I have to run them on strangers just to make sure it's not me. So, and that's why I like celebrity charts, is I just start pulling celebrity charts and see, can you really tell this? You know, like if we were to take Elizabeth Taylor and look up all of her husband's birth dates and go back and forth. But again, we'll do that advanced class. I'll show you that you really can see it. And what it looks like, believe it or not, looks kind of like a marriage transit, progress transit. What I mean by that is if I were to take, okay, my first husband was a year older than me. So if I was to take his chart and I was to move it forward to my birthday, which was August 1st, 1960. So he was born July 7th, 1959. So if I was to take his chart and progress it up to my birthday of August 1st, 1960, it actually looks like he's having a wedding. And that signifies that, yes, his wife was born that day. And then I take my chart and I back it up I regress it to July 7th, 1959, and I can see the wedding in my chart. So it's not a real strong wedding aspect, but it's there. You can see like a Sun Venus or a Venus Mercury, maybe, or a Venus Uranus, I mean, something that looks in the progressed and the natal like a little bit of a wedding, but you can see it, which is really mind blowing to me. Wow, when you get into the Bible code, by the way, if some of you it's the same when you get into the discussion about are we living in a simulation? They've advanced that to where they have names. And then if you get into the Bible code, they talk about names in the codes. Um, this to me, if I can see my birth date in his chart and his birth date in my chart, like wow, I mean, this stuff is really wild. But it's there. You can see it. It takes time, so we'll get more into telling how long it will last, um, showing their birth dates, and then I'll show you also more about how you meet them. Um, for example, with mine, like I said, my Venus Uranus in the ninth told me my first husband was going to have dark hair, he'd be a criminal, and he would be a foreigner, which he was. I went to a workshop. I flew out from California to New Jersey and met him. And then my ninth house, which is Mercury, okay, opposing Saturn, right? In my second house, told me he would be older than me and again a foreigner because of the ninth house. He was in Nebraska. Stacy knows, met him. But he was in Nebraska, saw me on TV, and then he did come from a very wealthy family with a lot of land. They had like 140 acres, I remember, up there in Nebraska, farming family. So that's the Saturn. It was, the big land owning family. Um, oh, and I should show you this because this will fascinate the hell out of you guys, by the way. Is if I want to know more about my first husband, flip the chart. Okay, so that my seventh becomes his first, and then my first becomes his seventh. And this is useful, by the way, if you want to look to see whether someone has been married before. Okay, because when you start doing this, you can actually see if the first person that you marry, if they've been divorced. Like, let's say you have Mars in your first house, that becomes your first spouse's seventh house. And of course, Mars is a divorce. And I've done a lot of charts, and it's there. I can say your first spouse is going to have a previous marriage and they're divorced. But you basically can tell everything you want to know about the person by flipping the chart. Even like I said, that criminal thing. Um, but also look at this, look at what I'm saying is his 10th house, if I flip it, okay, is this Venus Uranus. So it tells me, that he's had that erratic background. The retrograde Saturn tells me that he didn't have a good relationship with his father, which he didn't. Just there's things that you can tell. Now, if you want to know about the second spouse, you make the ninth the first, and you flip the chart again, and you look at the chart like it's their chart, and it tells you about them. See, I've got Cancer on my ninth house, and I just thought it was just funny as all heck to me because my Mercury representing I'm sorry, my moon representing my ninth house of Cancer. Okay. Um his sun, okay, I should just put it this way. Okay, see the 17 Cancer for my ninth house? His sun was actually at 17 Capricorn. So his sun was actually in this line of my second marriage. So there is something that ties in and fits together for that second spouse. And it's all different in every chart, but you'll see something that connects it and fits it, you know? And which is another thing, by the way, I've seen in a majority of marriages, not all, but I'd say a good 9 out of 10. There's usually an aspect between the sun and Saturn between the two people. And the reason for that, of course, as we know, is that love has nothing to do with marriage. It really doesn't. I mean, people can be madly in love with each other and not marry, and then people can hate each other's guts and marry. I mean, my first husband literally drugged me to the altar. I was screaming I did not want to marry him. And what happened was my blood pressure went up so high of me fighting and bucking him that I did not want to marry him. I mean, he literally forced me in the car and drug me to the church. And my blood pressure went so high, my mother said, "You're going to have a stroke if you keep fighting him." She said, "Just do it. And then, have the child," because my blood pressure, of course, I could have had a seizure and that would have been it. She said, "Just calm down, marry him, and divorce his ass after the baby's born." And I went, "Okay, that makes sense." So, so yeah, love has nothing to do with it. And then if I want to look at the third husband, it would be, I would just flip it so the 11th becomes his first. And that tells me things about him. Like, where will I meet him? Through friends. Because if I turn this chart, I've got Mercury on the 11th house. So I'm going to look, where's the ruler of my 11th house? And by turning the chart, it's in the 11th house, his 11th house, my ninth. So I'm also going to say he's probably another foreigner in some way. So first I had the Puerto Rican from New York. Then I had the guy who comes from Danish farmers in Nebraska, which is pretty wild to me. And Nebraska, of course, was considered a foreign land. By ancient standards, Nebraska to California is ancient. Okay. I mean, long distance or foreign. And my third husband's also going to be a foreigner, but we're going to meet through friends. Or the 11th house could be associations like self-help groups or networkings or so, anything to do with the 11th house. So, but I'm just going to round it off and say associates or friends. And sometimes you can tell a little bit about their appearance. Again, the opposition to Saturn, I know, will be older, but Elizabeth Taylor's a good case study. Sit down, pull all the marriages with her husbands, look at the marriage dates, look at their appearance, look at how they met. And pull out your highlighter and just you'll start seeing, run the charts for the day she got married. See if you can find when she met the potential husband, and even the second marriage where she went back and married Burton, I thought was fascinating in her chart. But that's something you got to, sit down and take some time and play with it. And then look at your own chart. See, now I'm not gonna go past for mine. I'm not gonna go past the third marriage because I'm gonna die while I'm married to the third husband. And the reason why I also know it's not going to be a fourth marriage is my fourth marriage again is the first house, and I've got the moon opposing Mars in my seventh. I'm not going to marry a fourth time. You can tell, you can look at something and go, okay, that's got Sun or Venus and seventh house, so it's a marriage, or it's got Mars and Pluto. No, you're not. It's not going to happen. You just start, but it's a little different in each chart, but there's generalities that are the same. And that's where you got to sit down and look. Because if it was one strict formula, then the computers could do it, but the computers can't do it because it's different, like in every case. And yeah, I don't know, Gene, if you want to look at it, but I mean, Gene's in a marriage cycle right now, and he's
Yes.
talking about marriage. I mean, I can
Oh,
pull
yes.
your chart up and show you what I was
Yeah,
looking
please
at.
do. Yeah, please pull my chart. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
going to say because
definitely.
you're in a marriage cycle right now, and I can
Yeah,
see it.
and
All
I'm not
right.
a marriage person. Like, I usually don't look into that, but
And how old are you?
oh my God, 50,
Well,
five
this is what I'm
zero.
saying. You're an older person. Is this your first marriage?
Yeah, 50, but I did do two marriages for just money and stuff, just to get people in the country for charity to help
But were
me.
they legal? Were they legal marriages? You had a marriage
Yeah, they were
certificate?
legal. They were
Okay.
legal.
Well,
Yeah,
Well,
stop it.
you know
I'm
what?
according
older.
to the guy.
That's going to be interesting. Let's take a look at that.
I'm older than you, and I've never been married. Just stop
you
it.
you sound young though. She sounds young, but I don't
I
know.
am older than you and never been married. I'm waiting. I'm I'm gonna be an old maid, okay? So
You know
stop it.
what?
No, love,
I
love
swear to
comes. You
God,
just gotta put boundaries.
there's a lady in the news that got married for the first time at 95.
Oh my God,
So,
that's too much.
well, I don't know, Stacy, is it in your chart? Let me see if I've got you in the computer.
Yeah, because Stacey, I
We
was gonna tell
talking.
you, I didn't expect to get married. I was just trying to just do me. I'm getting older. I was just trying to enjoy it. And she, yeah, just it
You
comes.
know, I've been engaged like 95 million times.
Oh, you've
And
been
guess what?
engaged.
It's not gonna happen. I've given up. It's
No, we'll
done.
have. I didn't. I
I'm
didn't. I
I
wasn't
am
looking.
legally married in the state of Iowa by common law, and I think
Yeah.
that's about it. That's the best I get.
Well, no, you're bringing up a good point, though, because this is why I say you have to look for a legal marriage. You have to look at the seventh and the ninth. Now, you may have a seventh, but no ninth, which would
Yeah.
be the common law marriage, but not the marriage certificate. Now, one study that I've been wanting to sit down and do, and I haven't had the time, I just think it'd be fascinating, is that now that they have gay marriage, I'd like to see
Yeah.
how that shows up,
Okay.
because generally, here's the thing, when marriage, you're looking at a lot of the Venus and the Mars and the Sun, so like male female, and I haven't like sat down to look at gay marriages to see how those show up, but I'm curious as hell. All right, no, I don't have Stacy. All right, so you know what, Stacy, let's get you in the computer. Looks like it ate you again. Okay,
Well, I'm
Stacy, what's
also
your
having issues because I'm looking at this Astro win and I'm showing up all wrong because
well,
my
what's your
birthday,
birthday?
March
What's your
28th,
March 28th? Uh-huh,
1975.
1975. You know what time?
Yes, 3:42 a.m. in Omaha,
3:42
Nebraska.
in Omaha. Okay, that one I can find. 3:42 a.m. Omaha, Nebraska.
Now, when I look at this chart
Hmm.
that Astro Win is producing, because I looked at it today and I'm like, hold it, this is wrong
Okay, well maybe we did it
because
wrong.
my seventh house should my eighth house should be Gemini
Okay, hold on.
My,
because that was
see,
because of my
Libra
dad.
ascendant.
No, I'm a Capricorn ascendant.
Really? Mm.
All right. Well, this is what you got to make sure that we're looking. That's a good point, though. We have to make sure we're looking at the right chart. Now, sometimes we don't know the time. So that's where, when you don't know the houses, when you don't have the time, then all you've got is the progressions and the natal. So it's a little bit trickier, but it's basically going to involve um, Sun, Venus, and Saturn. If you only have the planets and you don't know the houses, then something is usually connecting between, yeah, Sun, Venus, and Saturn. And Saturn is there because of the commitment, you know? All right, let's see. Nebraska. I'm trying to get Nebraska on this damn computer. Let's see. Play names.
Well, I looked at this today and I'm like, my eighth house was the Gemini because of the whole I had an intersection in that, and that was the two deaths, the two lives.
Yeah, could be. Let me see.
And then all of a sudden I looked at it today and I'm like, wait, this is different than what it was before.
All right, I'll change list. Omaha, Nebraska, Nebraska, Nebraska. Is that? No, that's Nebraska. Okay. Omaha. Let's see what's going on with both y'all. Okay. Omaha. Because, yeah, I'd like to see if and you know what? It may just be, you're right, see, it might just be common law. Let's see what's going on, you know? Omaha. Got it. Okay. Stacy, 3:20, 1995, 3:40 a.m., Omaha,
Not
Nebraska.
95, not 95, 75.
Okay. Hold on.
I wish it was 95. Oh,
Oh, yep. See, no, I'm blinded. 1975. Okay. Like I said, I've got to get glasses. My eyes are just horrible right now. Okay. Let's see what's going on with you. Okay. Because, yeah, you guys are going to make good case studies here. Let's see. All right. We got Jean. Now, you had two previous legal marriages, right, Jean?
Yes, yes. Two.
Okay.
Well, yeah, two marriages. Yep, two Lego.
Okay. We got a Venus seventh, just telling me you will have a first marriage. I mean,
Wait a minute.
You have a Venus ruled seventh, you know? Now, remember I
Mm,
told you that
oh,
when
Taurus.
I run you, you've got a 10 Scorpio ascendant.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I
So,
remember.
and you have Venus in the ninth. You said something about she was from another country.
Yes, she's from Guyana. Yep.
Bingo. Okay, the ruler of your seventh is in the ninth. You're going to marry a foreigner on your first marriage. Okay,
Really?
yep. And then, of course, let's see where the next
Wow.
malefic would be 22, 22.
Is there a way I can pick the woman I want to marry, or is it just the universe?
Uh, I'll tell you something. If I can see the birth date of the spouse in the other's chart, you're stuck with this person. Okay.
Okay, that's
Now,
good.
you have marriage to a foreigner as your first marriage. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what's interesting to me, and I would say I would back up that it was just a legal marriage for you. And the reason why is because you have Jupiter in the seventh.
Yes.
Now, I don't know why this happens, but when children are usually adopted by the state, when they're taken and put into foster care,
Hmm.
they tend to have Jupiter in the 10th house as their parent. Jupiter shows up as the government as a parent.
Yes.
Okay. So Jupiter represents in a way like the state. All right. So I've got, the state in your seventh house indicating that you would probably do this for some kind of governmental reason, you
Okay.
know? All right. So, yeah, we see that it was a woman, Venus, in the ninth, the foreigner. Now, let's look at
Yeah.
your ninth house for your second marriage. All right. Let's see
Yeah.
what's going on with that.
Sure. And to let you know that the first girl was from Ghana. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And see, you got the ninth, which is a foreigner too. But the
yeah.
thing about astrology, well, two things about astrology. Foreigners could be a state over or, another country like Ghana. You don't know how far really until, it just says foreigner. But one of the things I've noticed with, no, I lost my train of thought. Okay. Is, oh, what I was saying is, oh, yeah, I know what I was going to say is astrocartography. Because here's what I found interesting to me is that, um, I keep hearing things about your Venus line, and I'm like, I married a guy from New York and I married a guy from Nebraska, So what relevance does that have? Because I was in California both times. My Venus line, I remembered at the time, ran through the United States, and then one day I went, I wonder if they lived on my Venus line. So I went out and I got a ruler and I ran it like really exact through the US. And I am not kidding you. My Venus line ran through Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, where the second one was, and also New Jersey, where the first one was. So I met them on my Venus line, even though I wasn't living on my Venus line. So then I got curious, like some of these long distance relationships, could it be that, the other spouse is on their Venus line? And yeah, so there's something to that you don't have to live on your Venus line, but you may meet someone who either met you
What
on
are you
the
looking
Venus
at?
line or either met you on the Venus line or um, they saw you on the Venus line or, you know, that kind of thing. Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. Now, second marriage, Mercury. Was she younger than you, the second wife? Was she younger than you, or do you know? Jean, did I lose you?
Sorry, my mute was on. Yes, she
Ah,
was younger than me.
okay. Now I'm looking at your third marriage,
Yes.
and it's ruled by Mercury. So I'm going to ask, is she
You mean
younger than
second
you?
marriage? Second marriage. Second,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now we got Pluto in the second. I mean, Pluto in there. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
I think she
Okay.
was.
So we've got the moon ruling your second marriage. Let me see what's going on with your moon.
And
Oh, okay. The second marriage. is Moon conjunct Neptune in the second house. Was your second marriage for money?
Yeah, it was. Both of them were money.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what it looks like. Your ruler of your ninth house, and this is why I know this is your right chart. The ruler
Yeah.
of your ninth house, which is your second marriage, is the moon conjunct Neptune in the second. You married for money and you lied. You know, Neptune, of course, is the lying, the deception, falsifying papers, is Neptune. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now, we got those out of the way. All right. So now I'm going to look at your
Third.
third, and I'm going to predict, since you're not there yet, I'm going to say she's going to be younger than you. Okay.
Yeah, probably like 3 years. I think
And I'm going to say that you
4 years.
guys are probably going to have a pretty sexual relationship before you get married. And the
Yeah, I
reason
would
for
say.
that is
Huh?
because the ruler of your 11th house is in your 8th house, meaning you're going to have a very sexual relationship with her before you actually marry her.
The
Okay.
ruler of my 11th is Virgo. Oh, okay, I got you. So you're saying
Yeah, the
Mercury's
ruler
in
of
the eighth.
Mercury, a
I
Virgo.
got you.
Yeah. Now, this is why I said you're in a marriage cycle now. Is I take your 11th house, ruler Mercury. It
Yeah.
is your progress Mercury is in your ninth house.
Wow.
Okay. Now, it is conjunct your progress Venus in your ninth house.
Wow.
So I'm looking at Mercury conjunct Venus in your ninth right now. That's why I'm saying you are
Oh,
in a marriage cycle right now.
Okay.
Okay. And then I got, because Venus is your seventh house ruler and it's there. And Mercury is your 11th house ruler and it's there.
Okay.
And then I want to see, just to tie in the moon, what's going on, because the moon rules your ninth house of the legal marriage. So let me see
Yeah.
what's going on there.
Keyword
And
is
plus
legal.
Saturn, well, it's also it's conjunct your natal Saturn, which is a commitment,
What
and
conjunction my
it's
natal
conjunct,
natal?
it's
What
also
what
conjunct transit Saturn, which is the commitment. But I
what,
want to
do
see, want to tie the moon into this because that's your ninth house. Hold on, let
what
me find
planets
out.
conjunct them? You talking about Mercury?
Uh, hold on, I'm highlighting it for you. Hold
All
on.
right, I'll check it out.
Where is the moon?
yeah.
10. There we go. Okay. Mercury, your
Maybe.
progress Mercury is at 9. Your progress Venus is at 10 in the ninth house. It is highlighting moon, ruler of your ninth, in the second. So there it is. You have the 7th, the ninth, the 11th, all tied in. I
Wow.
am worried it's not going to last because
Really?
the opposition here to the moon Neptune. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's going to be forever, but you are in a marriage cycle now. Yeah. And that's why I saw that in your chart. And I wanted to show
Okay.
that to you. All right, let's see what's going on with Stacy. Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, wanted to see Stacy's. All right. Now Stacy's got a Leo seventh from what I'm looking at. Did I? Yeah, I
No,
got the right. I got the right chart. Okay. So let's see
no,
what's. Are you March 28th?
yes,
75, right?
right,
3 3:42 a.m.
right,
Okay, Omaha, Nebraska. All right. Well, this
right.
is this is why I don't like those programs online. They're, in my opinion, they're wrong. And that's why I use AstroWin, because I know it's right. And the reason why I know it's right is I can read charts like this with it, and I can predict who's going to win a fight or a baseball game. So I'm sticking with my AstroWin. All right. Now, your sun rules your seventh house, Stacy. So, and it's right there in the second. And it is conjunct Jupiter, which I brought up before. Jupiter is something to do with the state. So I'm kind of leaning this might be the common law thing we're talking about. But let's see what's going on with your ninth house. Oh dear. You have Uranus in your ninth house. And then we have Pluto, and Mars is your ninth house ruler. You got Pluto. That's the problem. Okay, I see the problem. I see the. Okay, first of all, you have an interception where your
Mm-hmm.
ninth house would be ordinarily it is intercepted. Now, from an astrology
Okay,
point of
see,
view, I'm going to say that
my
that would
interception.
intercept
Okay,
your legal marriage.
okay, hold it. My interception on Astron. This is where I'm confused. This is my interception shows. My interception shows, and this is where I'm always confused because
Right.
before when we did this, my I'm so confused right now because
Oh,
every
that's
time
why we got class. Yeah, seriously.
that's why I called you and I'm like, oh, hell.
But no,
Because when I did
seriously,
this
you know what? When I
before,
was learning, I would tear out my hair. The confusion comes with learning, and that's why we got class, you know?
when I did this before, I know my eighth house was Gemini because that was showed the double light or the double death. Now when we did it on Astrowin, I'm showing Virgo.
But I know Astrowin is right. So let's
Okay,
stick with
so
that.
Astrowin. So what are you showing for Astrowin? Because I have the Astrowin pulled up and it shows my. I'm showing
I'm just gonna go back to
my seventh house is Cancer.
I'm gonna send you a copy of this when we're done. But I'll see
Okay,
if I
because
hold on. I'm gonna,
I'm showing it's
because I
Cancer
want to make sure
and you're
you got the
showing it's
right
Leo.
chart. Yeah. And let me see if I can
Please,
share.
because
There we go.
I'm like I said, I'm showing Cancer and you're showing a Leo.
Okay.
Uh,
Have I got, yeah. Okay. I've got you with a Leo seventh house. So that's sun. Okay. Your sun natally is conjunct Jupiter in the second house. All right. But if I look up, I see in your eighth house, I'm seeing a Libra interception telling me that your normal ninth house is intercepted. I mean, that's going to
mhm.
tell me that interception would tell me I don't think you're going to have a marriage license. The Jupiter is the state or common law marriage. So, and this is where, because a lot of people didn't have marriage licenses when they got married. A lot of people had hand fasting or common law. And this is how you tell it is if there's a seventh house and a Jupiter, but no ninth, there's no marriage certificate. Okay. But there's still that love there, that commitment there, you know? And the fact that you've got the sun conjunct Jupiter, yes, I do believe you're going to have a marriage. But that intersection in the marriage license concerns me. Now I'm going to dig a little deeper to see if I'm wrong. You know, you've got Uranus right there in the ninth house too. That tends to upset things. Um, you know, I mean,
Yeah, it upsets me because I want the wedding.
all right. What degree is your sun? Your degree? Oh, this is interesting. Okay, your progressed Jupiter is at 6 degrees. So right now you are having a sun Jupiter. That's a very strong marriage energy. But let me see if it ties into.
Are you gaining weight too, Stacy? Or no.
No.
No, because
Okay.
that's not her ascendant. It has to affect her ascendant for her to gain
Okay.
weight.
No, I've seen some
Okay.
Oh,
people. Yeah. Okay. So with natal sun and
please
Jupiter, yeah,
no.
weight.
Yeah, if Jupiter hits the progressed or natal ascendant, they're gaining weight. And
Okay.
I've gained large amounts of weight. And let me tell you, it's been Jupiter on the ascendant, you know? Now, let's see. She's got Mars and Pluto. Let me see what's going on with her Mars and Pluto. Okay. You've got Mars at 19 degrees in her first house, which is not connected to the Sun Jupiter is 6 degrees and 7 degrees. So Mars is not there. Your progressed Mars is at 1 degree in the second house, not there. Let me see where Pluto. Okay, that's interesting. Your natal Pluto is at 7 degrees opposing Sun, Jupiter. This is tricky because I'm going to say because of the interception and because of the opposition to the ninth house, I'm going to say that you are common law married, but you're not going to get a marriage certificate. Okay. Now, I want to look ahead to see, like, again, when you die, could this change? I don't know. Let me see. You've got your fourth house is Taurus. Your natal Venus is in the third house at, it looks like 10 degrees. Am I reading that right? Is your Venus at 10 degrees or 1 degree? Do you remember?
Um, My natal Venus. I'm
I'll
showing
pull it
my
up.
natal Venus at
What degree is it?
10 degrees.
It's a 10. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. That's a problem. Well, 10's not there either. Okay. You are having your natal Venus at 10 and your progressed moon is at 11. So you are in a marriage cycle right now. All that moon, Venus, Jupiter, Sun, that's all marriage, marriage, marriage. Okay. But the problem is the ninth house ruler is opposing it.
So it just
And
means we fight and fight and fight. Oh,
well, okay, here's the thing that I'm going to ask you. Because of that Jupiter in there, have you got legal reasons why you should not legally marry? Would you
correct.
lose benefits or health coverage or something like that?
All the above.
That's the
Child support.
problem. That's the problem. Is that you would lose. The opposition tells me that you would lose too much by getting a marriage certificate.
I don't
Okay.
care.
Well, we'd have to look at his. I mean, we'd have to look at his, but I'm saying you've got challenges in your chart. And yeah, you do need to look at his and see maybe he's got some kind of compensating factor. But what's interesting
Oh,
to
I know
me,
what the compensating factor is. He's got $1 billion of child support that's going to come after me. And yeah, I know.
so we have more
I know.
problems. Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's, I mean, this is it. You're answering your own question. I mean, looking at this,
I
I would
know. I
say,
just want the big ceremony
I
and
know.
the
Well,
all
do
about
what I
me.
told my daughter. Let me tell you something. My daughter has a very similar chart to you. She's 34 and hasn't been married yet. And her boyfriend, love of her life, is in Australia. And she was going on and on about if they got married, they'd lose their benefits. And he might even, whose country, who's going to move to what country, right? And I told her, I said, look, why don't you guys have a hand fasting ceremony? That's what they did in ancient times. And she was like, oh, I like that idea. Witches used to do that, have hand fasting ceremonies, you know? So, I mean, I'm not saying you're not going to have a ceremony or a spiritual, but that marriage certificate, and this is why the astrologers emphasize that ninth house, is there's a difference between a legal marriage and a loving spiritual marriage, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to say that probably the risk to your benefits is a problem, but I would not want to say definitely not until I've looked at his chart, you
No,
know?
I get it. We would lose way ttoo much and it would
You
cost way
lose a
too
lot.
much in the long run. It
Hmm.
just I also
Even the
don't
fact
want
that
like
this interception is Libra, Libra also rules the government. The Jupiter involved in it is a government. So I'm going to say the only reason you guys aren't going to legally marry is that Jupiter,
I
you
get
know?
that, but I don't care.
Yeah. Now, like with Ricky, though, we don't know her time of birth. Now, this is where it does get trickier because if you don't know the time of birth, you've got to look only at the planets for the marriage cycles. And one other
Mhm.
thing you can do is if you're doing a sun on ascendant chart or Dondo chart, they're it's kind of the same thing, basically. Um, is there'll be a natural seventh house. It's not the exact specific seventh house, but there's a thing called the natural seventh house. Because if you put the sun on the ascendant, that will create a natural seventh house. So you can look at it, but it's just not as exact. Um, but because for example, like when I used to, before the computers, I would have to take my ephemeris out with me to live events, and all I had was the ephemeris. So doing straight progressions, you can still tell marriage and babies from the progressions. But again, you're looking at Venus, Moon, Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter. And there has to be some kind of connection going on there for that to be like that time. Now you hone it down, since progressions are 3 years, because you have a degree approaching, you have the exact degree, and then you have the degree separating. So there's 3 years there. You wonder what year. That's where you run the solar returns for where you're living. And believe me, when you look at one of the three solar returns, you'll go, oh, okay, that's the year. That's why I was saying it looks like my marriage is next year, because my solar return for next year is where I see it. then when you get to the month, you just run lunar returns, and then bingo, boom, you'll see the month. So that's how you can hone this down to the month, even the day. Now, I still can only get within 2 or 3 days. I can't quite do the exact day yet, but that's because the moon, moves slow. Sometimes it's fast, and I can never get that bugger down to the day. But I can get within 2 or 3 days. But
Okay,
you
but
just keep running the charts until everything lines up.
when you're gonna get married in a Mercury retrograde, it's gonna not last, right? You're in a
No, and
concept
my
with
second, and I wondered what that meant. My second marriage, I married in Vegas, and we had to do it in Mercury retrograde in Vegas because we were literally in a U-Haul from California onto Nebraska, and I said I'm not setting foot in Nebraska unless we're married. So we stopped in Vegas and had to get married before I would go to Nebraska. And no, it didn't last. And the ironic thing is that the other rule of you go back to where you were under a Mercury retrograde, which is why you generally, if you lose a pet under Mercury retrograde, you'll find them again. But you will go back to where you were under Mercury retrograde. And yeah, I spent what, 2 years back in Nebraska and then wound up back here in Vegas. I'm like, I can't goddamn Mercury retrograde, which is
Yeah, and just to let you know, that's why we were supposed to, me and my fiance were supposed to marry this month, but
mm-hmm.
Mercury retrograde came quick, and I've saw a lot of sites that said do it early in Mercury retrograde, but we decided to wait till August because
I
we
would
don't want
wait.
to. Yeah, we're waiting till
until
August to do it.
after.
When does the ingress end? Is it July 29th? Is it
Yeah.
end? Don't
In
worry about the
fact,
shadows.
yeah, because I've got plans for the 29th because that's the full moon. And that
Yes.
pretty Mercury goes direct then, and then we're gonna have that full moon. Yeah, so I got plans on the 29th to rock and roll it, man. And that's why the
Okay.
next couple of weeks I really want to start working on some sports so
Okay.
that come the 29th, because I looked at my chart for the, in fact, maybe I should even show you guys. I'll tell you
I
what
want to
I'm
see.
looking at. I'm looking at that going, I'm gonna make some bets that day.
Yeah,
All
let
right.
us know. My baby will invest too.
Oh, well, let me show you what I'm looking at here, just to show you what because that's another thing I wanted to, when some astrologer's saying something to you, ask
Yes.
them, what are you looking at? And if they aren't looking at something, then don't take it too seriously. See, Jody,
No, I understand.
I remember the 29th is coming up. I'll show you what I was looking at. Okay, 220, no, 729. 729 is the full moon. Okay, is that
Yeah,
my chart?
29.
Yes. Okay. All right. And believe me, another thing I've been waiting on, and while I was waiting, I was pretty ticked off by this because the ruler of my
Five
second
six.
house of cash was Jupiter retrograde. So while Jupiter was retrograde, which was years, I'm not going to make squat,
There's
you
no
know,
five book on this.
because it's also the ruler of my fifth house.
The internet, babe.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'll show you what I was looking at though. And all right, I got screen share. Okay. Oh,
So when does Jupiter go direct again?
well, I'll show you. It's in my natal. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I've got my chart up there. If you look at my natal chart, my Jupiter is retrograde. Now, while Jupiter was retrograde, I'm not making any big money. Okay. Now, when I did get that insurance settlement from my first husband's death and bought the house, Jupiter had gone direct that year, but then it went back retrograde again. But now it's gone back for, because it goes back and forth. But in my progressed chart now, you can see that my progressed Jupiter in the second house has gone direct at 27 degrees. Okay. Which means it is semi-sextiling my moon at 26 degrees in the first. Again, I've talked about if it's my money that I'm getting or somebody I know is going to make big money. Well, this is hitting my moon in the first house. So it's me. Now Jupiter rules my fifth house. I have a Pisces fifth house, which is gambling. Anytime you do gambling, betting, that kind of thing, or even stocks, stock investments is fifth. Okay, so I've got Jupiter, ruler of my fifth, in my second house of cash, at progressed at 27 degrees to my moon in the first house. Now, it is opposing my natal Mars in the seventh house. Okay. And then I've got, what was it? I remember on the, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Ah, okay. Transit moon on the 29th is at 9 degrees Aquarius. So that means it is actually an eclipse of my sun in my ninth. Now, ninth rules sports. Any type of horse racing is a ninth. Car racing is ninth. Any type of racing. Anything with a foreign element, again, is ninth. So it's just interesting to me. I'm looking at, okay, on the full moon, the moon's going to be at 9 degrees opposing my sun in the ninth. It's also going to be conjunct Pluto. So I've got Pluto now. Pluto opposing my sun tells me my life is about to dramatically change. Because I've gone through, I had Pluto squaring my sun in my life dramatic. That's when I left Nebraska. I left Nebraska with a square of Pluto to my sun. And look what happened. I went from Nebraska to Vegas and everything flipped. Now I got an opposition. So I got a really big change coming, you know? All right. Now, I also have my progressed Uranus is at 24 degrees, which is doing an in conjunction or a quincunx to my natal Jupiter in the second house. So like that's part where I said I think I'm going to get married, by a house. The house is Uranus, ruler of my fourth, on my 10th. So whatever it is, there's going to be some news and publicity about something because of the Uranus to the 10th. Uranus rules windfalls. Now, I think I've shown you the book, Lois Rodden's book, where she studied lottery winners or people that did like big wins at the casinos, you know, things where they did huge gambling wins. And, you know, there's all kinds of formulas in there, but they're all there, you know. And then I've got, let me see, just that even. I've got my progressed midhaven is at 1 degree. So it is squaring Pluto in my third. I mean, like, I got some big stuff coming, you know? And that's, I'm just showing you guys like what I'm looking at. Now, I am being careful of my health, and I'll tell you why. I've got progressed Chiron at 27 degrees in my fourth house. And I'll tell you what I also think that means other than my health. But my progressed midhaven is at 1 degree, and it is trining my Chiron at natally at 0 degrees in the fourth. Now, I'm in a very older mobile home right now. Everything's wrong with it. The plumbing's bad, the electrical's bad, you know. I mean, I've got holes in the floor, but I mean, I bought this place for the land, not the house, you know, but believe me, the house is falling apart. But I own it. So it's like that's all I'm worried about now is I own it. Um, so I do think there's some changes coming because of my progressed midhaven in the 12th, meaning I have hidden problems, to Chiron in my fourth. So there are hidden problems in this house, and there are. Again, there's hidden plumbing and electrical problems. When I brought out the electrician, he just went, "Oh God," groaned at me and left. You know, I mean, yeah, it's bad, right? So I know that, but so I'm going to have problems, yeah. But this windfall's also coming at the same time because my progressed Chiron at 27 hitting my moon in the first, you know, I'm going to keep an eye on my health, you know, yeah, but it's in my fourth, so I think it's my house, you know, that I think the money that I see coming in, I think is going to buy me a second house. And that's why I've said from my own predictions, I'm looking at a second house. And again, I ran my daughter's chart to verify it. And yeah, it looks like I'm moving out and leaving her in the old house and moving into the new one with the third hubby. But this is how I'm getting these predictions. And I just want, but this is also telling me that when this full moon hits, And that full moon conjuncts Pluto and hits that opposition to my sun in the ninth, I'm going to be in a casino making some bets because that kind of power of an eclipse on my sun with Uranus and Jupiter, I mean, I couldn't ask for any better. I mean, when I went down the checklist of like big wins of some kind with Lois Rod and her formulas, it was like, okay, it's all there. But you got to realize I have waited till I'm 60, 65 years old for that to happen. You know, I mean, believe me, when I was in my 30s going, God damn, I gotta wait till I'm 65, you know? So, but you can also, I want to go through all your charts too. You guys might have somebody die and leave you a lot of money, or you might have a big lot of win. I don't know. We got to sit there and look at what's going on in your charts and see what's promised, you know? And we'll do that. And
Promises,
that's,
promises.
well, that's why I've been hearing about this freaking basket that's got everybody so worried. And what everybody's worried about is this Mars Uranus thing to Neptune. Yeah, okay. But again, I don't worry unless it's affecting your ascendant in your first house and unless it's affecting your Saturn. Because if it's going to hurt you, it's going to affect your Saturn. I mean, granted, we saw it hurt. Here's the thing. We saw it hurt McGregor, but it hit McGregor's first house ruler in the fight, his signifier. Granted, it's a horary thing, yes, you know, but it showed that, you know, that was, it affected him and he was hurt with that Mars Uranus. So that's why I said I wanted to double check you guys. Now, I've got Stacy. I want to see, just run through. I am a little worried because you have Uranus at 4 degrees ascendant from what I see on the when I know I'm looking at the right chart. Okay, Mars has moved off. It's at 9 degrees. And we've got Neptune's at 15. That's off. And we've got Pluto's at 20. That's off. Now your progressed Uranus is at 0, but that's more than 1 degree. Again, I'm only looking to 1 degree. If it's gonna hit, it's gonna be less than 1 degree. You're in a very karmic time though, because your progressed nodes are at 3 degrees, and that is on your ascendant between the 4th and the 10th, which means that right now, think about that. This is heavy karma with your family and the government, the 10th, and you. So this is a time of really heavy personal family government stuff with you, you know? And that's just something you're dealing with right now. But am I looking to see if like you're in any danger? No, I'm not seeing it. Uranus is at, okay, Saturn's at 1, but you know what? That's not, oh, okay, wait a minute. Transit Saturn in the 12th is semi-sextiling Mars in the 2nd, and it is in your first house. How's your health? I mean, are
I'm
you okay?
no,
Okay, I didn't think so. All right, I'm worried
no.
about your health with that because it's in, I mean, we're looking at Saturn in the 12th, which is of course hospitals and institutions or nursing homes or yada yada yada. And I've never said I'm only worried when Saturn's involved because that's the body. And it is to your progressed Mars in the first, which is you. So yeah. Now here's the
I,
thing. The sun is going to cross over this tomorrow. So for the next couple of days, I want you to take it easy. If you need to see a
I go to
doctor,
the doctor on Tuesday, and
bingo.
I
Okay.
have some health issues,
Oh,
and I have
you
to make
do.
an appointment with the doctor for my back so I can go in and get
Please do, because it's right there. Because
another
here's the thing, your
another
progressed
burn.
Uranus is at 0 degrees. So I'm looking at um just the thing I've noticed over the years, by the way, is a lot of hospitals have religious names like St. Mary's Hospital or something. And whenever I see that, like a religious hospital, like St. Jude's or something, I see the 12th and the 9th. and you've got Saturn on your ascendant in the 12th, and it's also, you've got this Uranus in the ninth. I don't know, just might be some kind of, just, look and see. It might be a religious hospital or something. You do have
Yeah,
Jupiter opposing your ascendant.
they're gonna have to go in and do another like burn in my back. They
Oh,
do it like every 6 months, and it's been like almost 7 or 8
yeah,
now. So it's
yeah.
getting there again.
And the other thing that's going to make it critical, and I think you're going to have to, is the fact that your progressed Venus is at 29 degrees in the fourth house. Now, what that's telling me is something's gone too long with the 29 degrees in the fourth. And the fourth means that you can't avoid it, you can't put it off, you're going to have to do it. Okay. So I am worried about your health, and you are going to have to do it. And the funny thing is, when sun crosses over, sun's at 0 degrees right now. So on Tuesday, it's going to light all this up like a Christmas tree. Sun's going to be right on your Mars and on that Venus. And yeah, it's just going to light all this stuff up. So Tuesday, it's going to be a very big day for you. And I want you to keep that appointment, you
Yeah, I'm
know?
gonna go. So hopefully they'll see it all that day and we'll be good.
Yeah. And this is why I wanted to look at you guys. Now, let's see, I got Gene's chart. Let me see how he's doing. Because I mean, everybody's predicting all this doom and gloom, and I thought, okay, let's check you guys all out and make sure you're okay. I know you're going to see a doctor. You're going to be okay. All right. Now, Jean's got Mars at 1 degree Virgo. So that means that, okay, Uranus is at 3 in his 12th. And here we are talking about it. Okay, the moon's at 2 degrees opposing his progressed Uranus. So we're talking about his health today. And you've got something going on with you too, Jean, because your progressed Mars is at one. No, progressed Chiron is at 1 degree in your sixth house.
He's
So
not
right now
here,
the moon.
Jody.
Oh, did he jump?
Yeah,
Okay.
he
All right.
did.
If you guys take a look at his chart again, because I've got it up on the recording, he's got moon opposing, moon conjunct Chiron in his sixth, opposing Uranus in the 12th. So yeah, he's got some health problems too. But let me just double check if Saturn's involved, because that's the only time I get really worried. Where's Saturn? Saturn, nope. His progressed Saturn's at 5. Oh, and he's got shit. All right, he's got Saturn at 1 degree. So I'm gonna talk to Jean after the class then. All right. Oh, I already looked at mine. I'm seeing the doctor on Wednesday. I'm getting x-rays tomorrow, and I'm seeing the doctor on Wednesday, so I'm dealt with. All right, now let me see. I think I've got your guys' charts in here. I want to double check you guys.
When are you getting your glasses?
Wednesday. I'm getting x-rays
Oh,
Monday. I'm seeing my pain doctor on Wednesday. And I've got an appointment to get my eyes examined Wednesday because you can tell I'm blind as a freaking bat. I've got to get glasses. Okay.
I got my eyes done last week. I got my glasses like 2 weeks ago.
All right, Pat. I'm looking at Pat's. You've got natal Jupiter at 1 degrees. Okay. Pluto's at 10. Uranus is at 4. No, moon's at 9. Okay, you got Chiron at 1. This is all natal. So the thing about natal is it's just there unless it's lit up. Now that's why I'm looking now to the progressions. Is anything okay? We got the nodes at 3. We got Mercury at 3. That's not anything to worry. Transit Uranus is at 4. Transit Chiron's at 0. Transit Jupiter is at 2. Neptune. I'm not seeing anything that I would worry about with you, Pat, other than anxiety.
Oh, yeah, I'm traveling. I'm
And
traveling this weekend.
there you go. The ninth I mean, you've got Neptune in the ninth. which is anxiety, and it's lit up by Uranus and Chiron and Jupiter, which of course is blowing it all out of proportion in the 12th, which is negative, and then to Mercury in your mind. So I'd say, yeah, you got a lot of anxiety right now. But are
Yeah.
you in any danger? No. So you're all right.
Okay.
Now, the problem is just, I'm going to warn you about this, is this is Neptune moves slow, Jupiter moves slow, and your progressive Mercury is going to move slow. So it's not, you're going to be dealing with this for a while until these planets move, and they will move. They're going to move off, and it's going to get better, but they're going to move slow. So you're going to be dealing with this for a while, you know? So whatever you have to do to deal with it, meditate, walk, I
Yeah.
don't know, but you're going to be stressed. So you're going to have to find ways to de-stress until these planets move. Okay.
Thank you for letting me know. At least I know I have to de-stress myself. And
Yeah.
work is really, really, really edging me out.
Yeah. We talked about that. And that's because, yeah. Yeah. The ruler of your 10th is Mars. You've got 24 Aries. I think I saw Mars in there. Yeah. And then, yeah. Yeah. You're not in danger. It's just anxiety. Oh, yeah, the stress, of course, So, whatever you got to do to de stress, because it's not going to be over in a week. You're going to be under it until these planets move. Okay. And we can look ahead. I think if I remember correctly, I looked up Neptune moves off 3 degrees around November. So, at least till November. That's what I'm saying. Join a gym, meditate, whatever. All right, now let's look at Ricky. Ricky's got Mars natally at 2 degrees. And her natal Venus is at 0. Her moon's at 28. Venus is at 23. Uranus is at 4. Progressive moon's at 5. Pluto's at 4. Neptune's at 4. Okay, Mars moved off. Okay, you had the crisis already about a week or so ago, Ricky, and Mars is moving away from what happened is when you had the family problem, Mars had crossed over Uranus and it hit the Pluto and the Neptune and all hell broke loose. But Mars is moving away. So things are going to get better. You're through the worst of it. All right. So you're through the worst of it, Ricky. Things are going to get better for you. All right. So I'm not worried about you either. Let me see. I don't have, is Peggy still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm about to say, I don't have your chart. So let me run you up and see what's going on with you for that. Because, like I said, everybody's talking about. Now, by the way, that's one thing I should throw out there. People are talking about, oh, the government's going to fall, the money's going to collapse, the world's going to end, because of this basket thing, right? You know what? If that were true, then all of our charts would be showing disaster.
Mhm.
We're not. We're not all showing disaster. So nothing, I'm not believing that anything like, the end of the world is coming here. Now, if I see it in everybody's chart, I'm going to worry, you know? And the only thing I've ever seen that worried me, and I think you guys remember this, is when we had all those transits in Aries. I went, oh my God, all the children born with that much Aries. I mean, that to me, those children are going to be looking at something horrible, you know?
Mhm.
And figure what, 15? So I'd say when those kids hit about 15, we might have problems, Because I remember as a kid going, if we had another world war, it would show up in everybody's chart. And it showed up in everybody's chart with that Aries. Okay, so let's see, Peggy. All right, what's your birthday, Peggy?
March 26th, 1961, 1:28 a.m., Lincoln, Nebraska.
28. Yeah, I was thinking you're not far from Stacy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. I visited Lincoln when I was looking at law school back there.
Oh,
I
wow.
liked it. I liked it. Well, it was a college town from what I remember. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah. I'm in Omaha now, though. So.
Uh, that's where my second husband lives. He bought a house in Omaha, Nebraska now. I knew he went back after things didn't work out. Let me
What
see.
part of Omaha are you in?
What?
What part of Omaha are you in?
Holy Ghost, like
We'll go stay with.
51st and Q.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I'm
I
in
know
Are
where
Council
you?
Q is.
Bluffs. I'm in Council Bluffs.
Oh, Council Bluffs. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
As I was saying,
We
you,
should
I
do
don't think you guys
coffee.
are far
Oh,
from. You guys are close
Yeah,
to
we
each other.
should.
Let's see. Yeah, that would be cool. You guys can do astrology stuff together.
Yeah, I would love to talk astrology. Yeah.
In fact, wouldn't you say your niece is going to learn how to be a reader, Stacy?
she's starting to work on it,
Yeah.
but
So I
she's
mean,
very OCD. So when she started to look at some of your stuff, she's like, I can't do this right now. This is not in order.
you know what?
So,
I kind of relate because I've looked at transits on my own chart and gone, oh no. And I just, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even put it away and I don't want to look at it. Okay. All right. I got Peggy. Now, do you know your chart? Because I'm looking at a 5-degree Leo rising. Is that you or do you know?
No, 27 Sag.
27 Sag.
March 26th.
Let me double check it. I got March 26, 1961,
Uh-huh.
1:28 p.m.
AM. AM.
Ah, that's what I did wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go back. And Peggy AM. All right. I'm going to save you. So I've got you for next class. All right. And
I've
then,
got Mars in the seventh. I've never been married. And it
well,
was a good
that's the
thing.
other thing. It either means divorce or it can mean you never marry. I mean,
Uh-huh.
anytime you see Mars in the seventh, you got to look at it and go,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, 27 Sag. I got it. All right. So let's see what's going on with you. Oh, that's the wrong chart. Let me throw that out so I don't get confused. All right. Okay. Now, your seventh house is, of course, 27 Gemini. Oh, you also have the moon at 29 degrees in the seventh, which that would tell me you would marry late,
Oh.
older. Because here's the thing about 29 degrees of anything, it's a last resort, last minute, things are at the end of the line. You know what I mean? All that energy at 29 would indicate that you might be really older, you know? But let me see if it's okay. Now, you know what? Your ninth house is also Mercury ruled
Yeah.
because you've got your ninth house is Virgo and your seventh house is Gemini. So both your seventh and your ninth are Mercury. Now let's see where your Mercury is. In the second house, 8 degrees. Okay, now what's going on with 8 degrees? You do have the sun. You've got the sun at 5 degrees. So you
Mm.
do have the sun to Mercury. That would tell me that you will marry. You will. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, now the problem, of course, is it's opposing, well, yeah, it's opposing um your natal Pluto in the eighth retrograde. So that alone is going to tell me again also later. The moon at 29 later, Mars in the seventh. That would tell me that you maybe came close. Also because of the 29, you might have come close, but no
Mm-hmm.
cigar
Yeah.
there. So it's going to be later, because but you do have it because you've got um yep, there's that 1 degree Jupiter. You've got Jupiter even at 1 degree. Um, Chiron at 4 degrees. Chiron's also the karmic of marriage. Um,
It was a good thing I didn't get married, though. It was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That all that energy that I'm looking at is you would come close, but no. And again, there has to be some tragedy for the 29 degrees in there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there was something wrong, obviously, represented by the moon at 29 degrees, because that also tells me something was wrong with him,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because again, flip this chart over so that the seventh house is the first house, and you're looking at his chart. Now that
Mm-hmm.
would put moon 29 degrees in his first house. So he had problems,
Uh-huh.
you know? And then, but you will. I do see there is a marriage. Um, and actually, you know what? You, it's not like this year, but it's coming up because what's going to happen is your natal Pluto is at 5. I mean, I'm sorry, your progressive Pluto's at 5. Your natal Pluto's at 6. Transit Pluto is at 4. So you've got all this Pluto, in there, indicating basically you really want your independence, certainly with that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that, but all that Pluto energy it's not now. You're not marrying like right
No.
away, but it is going to shift when Pluto moves. And
Uh-oh.
when Pluto's going to have to move past 5 degrees, it's going to have to get to like 7 degrees. So when Pluto gets to 7 degrees and moves off that sun and moves off your natal and progress Pluto, yeah. Once Pluto gets to around 7 degrees, then the barriers that are in your chart will open up.
Okay.
Okay. But because your seventh and your ninth are both ruled by Mercury, and because Mercury does aspect the sun and even Venus, it's a 28, but it's there. And to Saturn at 28. I mean, yeah, you will marry. It's just going to be later in life. Again, the Saturn tells me it's going to be later in life too. But what you do is when you want to find when, this is how we just keep running. I mean, first we look at when Pluto's off, which would be 7 degrees. Once we get past there, then run your chart forward, and the funny thing is you'll see it all starts to click together like a puzzle, and that's when that's the year, you
Oh,
know.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me see. But you can tell a lot by this guy. I mean, looking at him. I mean, a Gemini rising, he's got brown hair, you know. Where do you meet him? Interesting enough, you'd meet him on something to do with money, like the bank, you know. Second house is like banking, finances, things like that. Anything to do with the ATM. I don't know. Anything to do with money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cashing a check, anything like that. So it's just, I mean, but it looks like that's where you'd meet this guy. But it's there. I want to see now. Oh, do you
You meet
do
him
you
when we go
know?
start betting.
Well, it's interesting. She's got some good planets for betting, actually.
Like I said, she meets him when we go start betting. Oh,
Neptune's on her. Fuck. She's got Neptune on her though. Neptune negates everything. Here's the thing. You do have Pluto conjunct Venus in your eighth house, and it's aspecting Uranus in the fifth. That's good. The thing that worries me is Neptune's in there at 4 degrees in your third,
Yeah.
clouding your. You know what? There's a funny thing about Neptune, and I really did not believe it until, like I said, my teacher took me to the track, and we did a lot of betting,
Mm-hmm.
and I would bet through Neptune cycles because they would say that even if you get the right prediction, that Neptune will fuck you up. That you lose your ticket, or they reverse the decision, or something goes wrong even though you're right. And I remember I was doing really good, and that Neptune hit, and I was
it's
going,
very
I'm
bad.
gonna do this anyway, and I was so sure. And the thing is that I was right. Okay. But what
Uh-huh.
happened was it was a photo finish, and
Oh.
they turned around and I remember I was literally walking to collect my money, and they announced that with the photo finish they reversed the decision, and I went, goddamn Neptune, you know. I mean, so I don't suggest you bet under Neptune.
Okay.
Now when Neptune, here's the thing though, Uranus at 4 in your fifth house is good. To Pluto in your eighth, that's good too. Um, and then you got Pluto moving in on your second to your Jupiter in the second. You've got some good betting planets. But that Neptune, now, what I would do is we got to wait for you. And it might mean that your astrology abilities got to get better. But I would
Yes.
be very cautious until Neptune moves past 6 degrees, which I don't know when
Okay.
that is. But just we got to go through the ephemeris. When Neptune gets past 6 degrees, your astrology knowledge is going to be better.
Hmm.
And then that's different. You've got really good planets for a big win with gambling. You do, but not till this Neptune moves. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to write that off to you just need more astrology knowledge. And the funny thing is you meet the guy, something to do with money. And wouldn't that be ironic if you met him at the betting window?
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. So, but I'm not seeing, let me double check Saturn, make sure. No, your Saturn's at 29 degrees. Transit Saturn's at 14. You're not in any physical danger. So
Oh,
you're all
good.
right planetarily. All right. I got Ricky, I got Stacy, and I got Peggy, and I got Pat, right? All right. I want to make sure everybody's out of danger, and I'll talk to Jean offline. All right. Oh, God. So, any questions? I think I covered what I wanted to make sure we covered today. So, any questions? No?
No?
Okay. All right. I gave you a good, yeah, we did 2.5 hours. Shit. That's why I got to edit these tapes up. All right. Next week, I figure we'll look more at, we can look more at marriage if you want, or we can look at pregnancy next week or more we are going to do more gambling next week. I'm going to do gambling every week. Because, like I said, on the 29th, I want to be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now, Jody,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How do you know if somebody is good for gambling? Like, can you see it really on their natal chart? Is that what it
Yes.
is?
Yeah. You know what? I think I've got yeah, here I go. I'm about to say, I got the book here. There are formulas. Hold on. Let me see. And I'll give you like a basic checklist. And I'm recording this, so we'll be able to run it back. Hold on, let me see the checklist. This is the book. Lois Rodden. She did exhaustive work. That woman chased down lottery winners and people that won like the big $1 million at the casinos. I mean, she really did her homework on that. Let me see. And she put it in this book. And see, that's the thing that I've learned. And this is, people always say, oh, if you're so psychic, why aren't you a millionaire? Well, the thing is, not everybody has the chart for that kind of win. Some people
Hmm.
inherit their money. Some people get their money off their investments, like real estate. Some people work to get their money. Their spouse has it. But for like windfalls, hold on, let me see.
So the formulas is actually on
There
that
is a
book.
formula. Yes. Let me see.
Okay.
Inherited wealth, lottery winners. Here we go. I'm going to see. She's got a chapter called Lottery Winners. And then here we go. Here's the checklist. Okay. And I've got like 9 out of 10 of these. And she said if you have like 8 out of 10, you're good. All right. We've got the moon is in a trine or grand trine. Okay. So that's one. I don't know if you guys can see. Have I got the.
Yes.
I do? Okay. All right. Natal Jupiter in a trine. Natal Jupiter in aspect to Neptune, believe it or not. And the reason why natally in Neptune is because of the dreaming, the fantasy that I think I can. Okay. But when you make the bet, you got to be careful of Neptune. All right. So natal Jupiter in aspect to Neptune. This does not have to be one of the big four. It can be a lesser aspect, like a semi-sextile or semi-square. So in other words, it's not a big deal. All right, natal Mars in aspect to Jupiter or Neptune. That's why I'm saying in my chart, my moon is in a trine. My natal Mars is in aspect to Jupiter. In fact, it trines. My natal Mars trines Jupiter. Okay, and then my Jupiter is in a trine. Okay, natal or progress Venus or Jupiter in aspect to Uranus. I have Venus Uranus conjunct and Jupiter trines my Uranus. Okay. 6, natal or progressed Venus or Jupiter retrograde. That's when I was like, oh, when she did this book, I'm like, yes. Okay. But she did emphasize that natally retrograde, but it has to go direct at the time of the win. Okay. Natal or progress. Okay. Natal Pluto conjunct or opposite the ruler of the second house within 45 degrees, or some other aspect to the ruler of the second within 1 to 2 degrees. And this is where you got to take this one, you got to take bits. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, first, is natal Pluto conjunct or opposite the ruler of the second house? Just narrow it down there. And then if it is, then check, is it within 45 degrees? If not, then, or in some aspect to the ruler of the second. Okay. Within 1 to 2 degrees, or a progressed aspect within 1 degree. Okay. A close natal sesquisquare between two planets within 1 degree to show the potential for a sudden change of direction in the life. Now, what that means also is some people go through life at a very consistent class. I hate to say class, but in astrology, class shows in a chart. Like your middle class or your poor class or even wealthy class. Okay. But the ability to change dramatically has to be there. That's why, again, even Elizabeth Taylor had it with the Venus Uranus. And she had periods where she had money troubles, and then of course she had all this wealth. And I mean, I've gone up and down too. Let's see. The sesquisquare most frequently involves the midheaven, moon, Venus, Jupiter, or Pluto. And that's because, again, when you have an extreme change, when you go from, say, poor middle class to wealthy, uber wealthy, there's going to be the Pluto. The Pluto has to be in there. And of course, the midheaven is around the publicity, because you aren't going to win the lottery or a big, huge gambling win without there being news. So that's why you look for the midheaven and the Pluto. Okay, natal or progressed interpositions, which is kind of like a mutual reception, or close aspects between the 12th house to the second or the eighth. Now, one of the things that she talks about with wealth is the second house, the fifth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house. Why? I don't know. Those are just what her studies found, is that people that suddenly became quite wealthy, those houses were connected in some way. Okay, transit Uranus in an aspect of 2 to 3 degrees to the natal or progressed midheaven, which is why I said I've got my progressed Uranus right smack on my midheaven, or the natal or progressed descendant. The reason we find a valid Uranus transit within several degrees is because Uranus will go back and forth over the aspect 3 times during its change of station. But that, again, that represents the change in class or your status, that you're jumping up a big deal. Because one of the most irritating things that when I was studying gambling used to piss me off to no end is that I would get the right bet, I would get the right time, and I'd win $20. That would piss me off, because I had everything right, but my chart didn't show the big dramatic win. And I'd win like $20. I think, well, yeah, in all fairness, one weekend, I think I made 10 grand in an hour. I was really cooking that weekend. And that kind of money, it's gone. It doesn't change anything. And that's why you got to look at the chart to see if there's a big change. And that's why I also brought up that Pluto opposing my sun means that I'm going into a very dramatic change. Okay, to be a big time winner, we do not have to have all of these indicators, but we do need 6 or 7 of the indicators. The greater quantity of lucky indicators and the more obvious they are, the greater the chances are of winning a fortune. And then she goes into, in the book, she goes into this book, by the way, I've got the PDF of this book in the group on Facebook. And if you don't have it, I'll email it to you. but I've
Okay.
got the PDF for this book with all these charts of lottery winners in the group. So I can just email it to you if you can't download it. Does that mean? But yeah, if you're
Yes.
looking at your chart or someone else's chart, these are what you look for to see if they're gonna, make it big or
Thank
just have
you.
a good weekend. You know,
Yes.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions in for today?
No,
Am I
think
hearing
we're good.
anything? Okay. All right. We'll get the tape off to you guys after give us a couple of days. And then if you need Lois Rodden's book, just let me know and I'll email it to you. And I'll make sure that I email you the charts we looked at today too. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.